Look, this is the declaration. This is the variable declaration. This is the variable declaration, that normal variable. What is the syntax? You need to give that that data type first. That here we have mentioned that is a string. Then what we have done, I have given a name to your variable. That variable we are declaring, I have given a name. That is the name. That name can be anything. You can give any name to your variable, but that variable name should be different all the time. And equals to John. Look, one thing remember, that value I have put it into the double quote. I have that value, that John value, I have put it that within the double quote. Why I have put it that in double quotes? Because their data type I have mentioned what? That is a string. And whatever we are writing within the double quote in Java, whatever we are writing within double quote, that will accept as a string. Okay. Try to all the time remember that thing. That is an important thing. Whatever you are writing, that will accept in Java, that is a string. And the data type and that value data type should be matched, because here I have declared the data type as string. That means that value should be also as a string type data. And that name is what? That name is the variable name. So now that means that name having a value, that is John. That John, where I have stored that John? Into that name variable. Just a minute. So where I have stored that value John, where I have stored it? I have stored that John into the name variable. So that means what? Whenever I will call that variable name, that will return what? That will return you John. Are you getting that DIATM candidate? Are you getting the thing? What is that variable? How we have declared that variable? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That means what? Whenever I will call that name, that means that name will return you what? That name is returning what? That John.
John.
And you
John.
guys know Java. That means what? You guys already know that system.out.println is used for getting the output and print it in the
Yes, sir.
screen using that println method. That is a predefined method, right? So into that system, using the system.out.println, what I'm doing, I am calling that variable name, that is the name, that is the identifier, that variable, using that name. When I'm calling that name, whenever you will execute that program, that time that program, what that will return you what? That will return you that John. But that variable having a disadvantage, that is that one variable can hold only one value, but our intention is to store multiple values to against one variable, and that is a simple thing, that the simple way, that is an array. When I can store multiple values to a one variable, that is a array. That is not the proper definition. I am giving you that thing. I am telling you that because so you guys can understand that to that array. Look, this is the array. This is the array. Look at that line, string cast that I am. Look at that line. What is the difference you are getting? I think there are not too much difference in between that you are declaring a variable data type.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, I have my last year project presentation exam, sir, from 12:30. So can I
Okay.
leave, sir?
Yeah. Obviously, you can leave, and you will get the, don't worry, you will get the recording. You just try to do one thing, you see the recording, so you guys can. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So that string, same thing. The way we are declaring a variable, in the same way we can declare the array. The simple a little bit difference is what? That data type we are mentioning, that is string type. After that, in the time of variable declaration, what we are doing? After the data type, what we are doing? We are giving the name. But in the time of declaration of array, a little bit changes in you need to do, that is in between the data type and in between the variable name, you need to give that square brackets. Just you need to give that square brackets. When you are using that square brackets, that means that became a array. Now that cars is not a variable name anymore. This is now a array name. That means now that cars is became what? Just because you are using that square brackets, that means that cars is became what? That cars is became an array. And now you are storing multiple data. And that data, how you can store that data? That is that second bracket, or you can say that the using that curly braces. That curly braces started here, that curly braces ended here. And in between that, whatever the value you want to store, that you can do. But one thing, string data type I have mentioned, that's why I need to, whatever the value I am putting into that array, that value should be into under that double quote. And we are passing what? We are passing multiple values. So you each and every value should be separated by comma. One value, that is Volvo, we have put it within the double quotes, then comma, then BMW, then 4, then Mazda. There are 4 values that we have stored into that particular array. That is an array. Is that clear? This is the way we can store data into an array. That means that is a simple thing, a simple word we can say. Array is what? Array is a special kind of data variable where we can store multiple values in a one variable. That is an array. Don't make the thing complicated. Try to think so you guys can understand. Don't think complicatively. Think it easily. That is a variable, simple variable. What is the changes? The simple changes is the square brackets. In between the data types and the variable name, I have put it that simple square brackets. Now it's become an array. And that square brackets is the identification of an array. That square brackets is what? Like the variable name is the identification of that variable name, that name, like the same, that square brackets is the identification of an array. Just because we are putting that that square brackets in between the data types and the name, that means that became a cast. Now within the curly braces, whatever the value, multiple values you want to store, you can store. Okay, that is an array. Like the same in that example, integer my num, what is that? Why that integer? Because I want to store integer type data. That's why I have declared the data type as that is as integer. Now my num equals to, my num is what? That is an array name equals to that 4 variable, 4 values I have assigned to that array. Another thing, when array, that means suppose you want to print, you have stored 4 values to that array, but I want to print any particular variable, particular value we want to print. I don't want to print, there are 4 values, but I want to print only 30. I want to print only 30. So that thing, how you can do? How you can mention that? Yeah, tell me.
Sir, you can use for loop.
No, using the for loop, what you can do using the for loop?
Array dot length, I can use for loop. You mentioned array dot length 0, 1, 2.
Yeah. That using that for loop, you can store all the data, right?
Yes, sir, all the data, but print is
But why
one
you are
type of
why
data.
there is no need? There is no need to use any for loop or anything. There is no need to use any for loop or anything. You can do it using for loop. That means I understand that you will mention that, but that time my concept, why I am telling you that, let me tell you, you will understand. That time you need to go as per the index number, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
That time you need to go as per the index number. That index number I just wanted to tell you guys, because you guys have done that, the old candidate have done that, but that there are 3 candidates have joined today that who are new, that newly joined, so they don't know, they don't attend the previous session. So that's why I am just telling them that what is an array, what is the declaration of array, what is the length, what is the index number. After that, we will do what? We will do the pending topic of multidimensional array. Before doing the multidimensional array, it is necessary to understand that single dimensional array, right? That's why I am just repeating that same thing again, so that 3 candidates who have joined newly, so they can understand that. Okay, let me continue. So you don't need to use any kind of for loop, but if you even you are using the for loop, that time you need to know the index number of each and every value. And what is that index number of an array? Array is zero based calculation. What is the zero based calculation? If someone asking you how many elements or how many values you have stored into that array, you will say that is 4, because 1, 2, 3, 4, that is called the length of that array. That is called what? That is called the length. If someone is asking you what is the length of your array, you can say 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is your length of your array, because 1, you are starting your calculation from what? From 1, 2, 3, 4. But someone is asking you as per the index number, what is the index number of 40? That time you need to start your calculation from 0, not from 1. That means zero number, at the zero number index there is 10, then 1, then 2, then 3. That means what? In the zero number index, 10 at the zero number index, 20 is the 1 number index, 30 is the 2 number index, 40 is in the 3 number index. Just because you are using only one variable name, that is an array name, but you are storing multiple values. So if you want to print any particular value you want to pick up, and you want to print that into that screen, that you can do using the index number, because each and every elements of that array having their separate index number, and that index number you need to start your calculation from 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that means we can easily mention that if I mention my name 2, that time what will be printed? That time what will be printed?
2, sir.
Yeah,
2 number index.
yeah, in the if 2 number index, in the 2 number of index, what is available there?
So 4.
Why 4?
30.
Yeah, 30.
30.
Yeah, that 30, because in the 0 number index, what is the value? 10. In the 1
10.
number index, what is that? Is 20.
20.
The 2 number index, there are 30. Suppose that person, whoever is you saying that we can use the for loop, you don't need to use that for loop, because that will be a very lengthy process, and that will a very hardy process. When as just you can mention the index number and you can print the value, then why there is a need for you? There is no need for that for loop. That's the syntax. Suppose you have declared an array as string type array. String cars is the name of your array, equals to 4 values that I have assigned. Okay, 4 value that I have assigned. Now I want to print any one value. That you can do simple system.out.println within the round braces. You can do, you just mention the array name. That array name you need to mention from that array you want to pick up a particular value. That means we want to pick up a value from the cars array. That means we need to mention here the name of that array, cars. And this is an array, right? What is the identification of an array? That's square brackets. Cars, that's square brackets. Within the square brackets, just mention the index number. That index number, that which value you want to pick up, that mention that index number. Suppose that here is the 0. In the 0 number index, what value is available?
Volvo.
Volvo. That Volvo value is available. You just mention, suppose you want to mention that 3 in the
Four.
that will no, that is 3,
Mad-
that will
Mad-
Mazda.
Mazda.
Just mention the index number here. By doing in just mentioning the index number, when you can print the value, picked up a particular value, then what is the need of for loop? No need. Always try to do it, so don't make the thing complicated. Okay, when you can use, you ask for the index
Yes, sir,
number,
yes,
just
sir.
mention the, okay, understand? So as
Yes,
per the
sir, I
index number,
understand.
and yeah, now what that means, what index number is the everything for the array. Are you getting what is the index number? That index number concept is clear. One thing, length and index number. You will always, whenever you are working with the array, that means you need to play with the length of your array and the index number of your array. That means don't be confused between the length of your array and the index number of your array. Length will always, the length, when you are calculating your length, that time always start your calculation from 1 in terms of length. When you are calculating your index number, always start it with the 0. That is a predefined thing by Java. Now one thing, that what in the previous example, what we are doing, we are picking up, we are just picking up a particular elements and we are printing it in the screen, right? Now what we want to do, suppose I have declared string cars is the array name equals to four value or 4 elements I have assigned to your array. Now my mindset became changed. I just want to do what? I want to change some elements. Suppose there here I am doing it in the 2 lines or 3 lines of code. In the real time project, you will work in a money like 1,000 lines of code you need to do. In that time, suppose you forget, you after doing 100 200 lines of code, you realize that you need to change some element with something else. You need to replace with something else element. That you can do like what? Volvo in the 0 number index, BMW in the 1 number index, Ford in the 2 number index, Mazda is the 3 number index. Okay. I want to change that value, that Volvo, value of that Volvo, I want to change. I want to change, but I don't want to change it in the array declaration. I want to change it in the somewhere else. So why I want to do it? Because when you are doing any important project, that time there should be a record. Whatever you are doing in your project, there should be a record. There should be like that you need to show whatever you are doing the changes to your client, to your manager. That time, if you are doing any changes in that array, that here in that first line, if you are changing, there is no record that you are changing anything on it. That time, so you can store the record, because that you can show your client that there is in the a declaration in array, there is another value, but you have changed that value to something else. So you can store that record that you want to do it in the another line. That you can do using where? In terms of index number. In the second line, what I have done, I have mentioned that array name, and within the square brackets, I have mentioned the index number. In that index number, I want to change the value, or I want to change the element. So OP1 in the 0 number index equals to OP1, I have reassigned the value. So what will happen whenever that in the next line system.out.println cars and then 0, when you are, that means using that, what you are doing, you are printing in the cars 0 number index, whatever the value is there, you are printing that value into your screen, right? So when you are doing that, after changing the value, that time that will return you that OP1, because you have overwritten the value with the Volvo. You have changed, you have replaced the Volvo, and you have put it a new value to that place of Volvo, which is available in the index number of 0. Just you need to mention the index number. If you are mentioning that 1, that time BMW will be removed and OP1 will be in the place of the BMW. So whenever you will execute as per the index number, you are mentioning that 1, that will give you an output as OP1. Is it clear? That's how, this is the way you can change the value from an array. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. So, okay, now we are coming to the array. We have already learned about what? We have already learned about the length, about the index, about the array. Now we want to print each and every values. Up to this, what we are doing, we are changing the value. We are picking up any particular value in as per the index number, and I was just printing it in the screen. Now what we want to do, we want to print all the elements, whatever the elements is in the array, that all the elements we want to print it in the screen. Okay, that, but one thing, in the variable, in the time of variable, what we are doing, the system out of println, and within the round braces we are just passing, we are just calling the name of that variable, and the value will be printed in your screen. Because that time I was storing only one values, right? That's why that is possible. If I call that variable name, just need to call the variable name, and that will give you a output as that the value, whatever the value is against the variable, right? But now you are working with array. In that array, there are multiple values. There are more than one values. That time, if you are calling, just calling the name of your array, that cars, that will be an error. That is that the way you can't do the, you can't print the all the values. So how you can do? You need to always array as per the index number. You need to mention the index number. Until and unless you are not mentioning the index number, until and unless you are not mentioning the index number, you cannot print the elements of an array. So by using the for loop, we are printing the all the elements. Try to understand that for loop now. String cars equals to Volvo, BMW, Ford, National. That is the array declaration. 4 elements I have stored into that array. Now what we are doing the for loop. Using the for loop, we are printing each and every elements from that array as per the index number. When now for that we are using what? We are using the for loop. For int I equals to 0. In that for loop, there are 4 states. There are 4 states using the for loop. What is the syntax of using for loop? For you need that loop, you are using the name of that for loop is for loop. For you need to mention here. After that, you need to give the round braces. Within the round braces, there are 3 states. Variable declaration that are declare int I equals to 0. Condition checking I less than cast dot length. I'm coming to that. What is that? Okay. And the third state is I plus plus or I minus minus, that is increment or decrement. Each and every loop, each and every method, each and every class having their separate block. And how we create that block, how we create that separate block? Using that curly braces, using that curly braces, we are creating a separate block for that for loop. That means what? For that name you need to use under the round braces, you need to declare a variable, then you need to give the condition, then you need to give the increment decrement operator, then you need to close the round braces. After that, you need to create a block for that for loop using the curly braces. Within that curly braces or within the block of that for loop, what we are doing, system.out.println cars I. Within that square brackets, what we declare, what we mention here, we mention the index number, right? In the previous, if you see that index, see that cars 0, that what I have mentioned within the square brackets, that is index number. What we have mentioned here, we have mentioned the I. Why I have mentioned that I? Let me now, I am explaining how that for loop will work. Okay. One thing, remember one thing, array is what? Zero based calculation array. That means what? You need to, when you within that array, when you are using the for loop, that time, each and every time, you need to declare your variable from 0. That's why I have declared int I equals to 0. Now cast dot length is what? Dot length cast is what? Cast is the array name, and dot length is what? Dot length is a function or a method in Java. Suppose you just think there is only 4 elements or 4 values I have stored into that cars array, right? We can calculate that 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose if there is 1001 lakhs of elements, is that possible to count it one by one? No, that is not possible that time. If I have, if there is lakhs of, just a minute, I'm getting a call.
Yes, sir. Hello? Sir, audio is not coming. Sir, I am not audible.
Yeah, actually I was mute. Okay, now, yeah, now I'm audible, right?
Okay, okay.
Okay. Now, you, in the time whenever you are working with an array, where you are working with the for loop, that time try to mention that all the time. Don't, even you know the length of your array, still don't mention the length, particular length. Always try to use that cast dot length. Why? Because that is a good practice. Even you know the length, maybe there is a multiple, if you don't know the length of your array, in that case, even you know the length of your array, in that case also, always try to use that terms, that cast dot length or the array dot length, try to use. And what is the length of your array is 4. If and what is the index number of your array? Last index number of your array is what? 3. That means the length always bigger and the index number is smaller, right? If you are talking the length, that is 4, but the last index number is what? Last index number is 3. That means that your index number is smaller than your length. I less than cast dot length, that means 0 less than cast dot length. That condition you need to mention what you need to, that means that will execute up to 3, because when the value is became 4, cast dot length is 4. 4 less than 4, is that condition true? No, that condition is became false. So that means what? That will run up to the last index number is what? 3. Now the value of I, now just explain me. Int I equals to 0, I is 0, 0 less than cast dot length, is that condition is true? Is that condition is true? Backend team? Hello, backend team. Hello, am I audible to everyone?
Can you repeat, sir?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Can you
Yeah.
repeat?
Yeah, I equals to 0, 0 less than cast dot length, is that condition is true?
Yes, sir. True, sir.
0 less than cast dot length, that condition is become true. When that condition is become true, now it will come to that for loop block, and when it is entering the for loop block, what it is getting here in that block, I have mentioned system.out.println cars I. What is the value of I now? What is the value of I now?
0.
0. That I have mentioned here, that the value of I will be there. I have where, that means I have mentioned I, that means that value of I have assigned here, assigning here. That means what? In the place of cars 0 number index, what is there?
Volvo.
Volvo. That means what? System.out.println cars 0, that means Volvo will be printed. After printing the Volvo, again it will go where? It will go to that I plus plus. That means I plus plus means I plus 1. I plus plus, that means I, the value of I is 0, 0 plus 1. Whatever the value of I is 0, 0 plus 1. That means after printing, that is checking the condition. Then if the condition is become true, that time it is entering the for loop block. In that block, when it is entering, now it is getting that there is system.out.println cars I is what? I is 0. Cars 0. In that cars 0 number index, there is what? There is Volvo. After printing, it is going to that I plus plus. That means I plus 1. That means value of I is 0 plus 1. That is what? 1. Now the I increased by 1. Now the new value of I is became what? What is the new value of I now? That I have increased the value using the I plus plus. I am
1, sir.
increasing that value by 1. That means now the new value of I is 1. Now,
Yes, sir.
now value of I is become what? 1. Now 1 less than cast dot length. Is that condition true? Is that
True, sir.
condition true? True.
Yes.
Again,
sir.
that condition is become true. So again, it will enter where? Again, it will enter the for loop block. It is coming to that system.out.println. Now, cars I is what?
1.
Cars I is 1. That means cars 1 number index. In that cars 1 number index, what will be printed?
Mm.
BMW will be printed. After printing, again it will go to that I plus plus. Again, it will increase the value of I by 1.
1 plus 1.
1 plus 1 is 2.
2.
Now became I is 2.
2.
2 less than cast dot length. Is that
Yes, sir.
condition
True. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Again, that condition true. Again, it will enter that block. Again, it will print system.out.println cars. Index number is 2. In the 2 number index, there is 4.
4.
After printing, again it will go to that I plus plus. Again, it will increase by 1. Now the I became what? Now the I
Three.
became 3 because 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 less than cast dot length. Is that
Yes,
true?
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Again, that condition is true. Became to that, it is again entering that for loop block. System dot out dot println cast 3. In the 3 number index, there is what? There is
Yes, sir.
Mazda. After printing, again it will increase the value I plus plus, that is 3 plus 1. Now the became value of
4.
I is 4. 4 less than cast dot length. Is that
No,
condition
sir.
true?
False.
Now that
False.
condition is became false. Just because that condition is became false, that means that will not enter the for loop block. The loop will be stop
Exit.
execution.
Yes, sir.
So now what the output you have got? As per the index number, each and every elements you got and print it in the screen. Because when I was 0, print value. I was 2, print that BMW. I was 3, 4, I was 4. Sorry, I was 0 is Volvo. I was 1 BMW. I was 2, 4. I was 3 Mazda. When I was became 4, that time that matched with the length, that means that became equal, not lesser. That means that condition is became false. So it stopped the loop. That means what? Using the for loop, we are mentioning I. That means we are mentioning the index number value of I is what? I am taking that value of I as the index number, right? As per the index number, we are printing using the for loop. We are printing each and every elements, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Using the for loop, how we are printing that array, each and every elements. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what we are doing, you guys do some practice yourself. Just give me 10 minutes. I'm having a meeting from 1, and just 10 minutes just give me. Okay, after just attending the meeting, I'm just coming, and again I will.
Sir, sir, I can
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
Sir, my presentation also start 1 p.m.
Your presentation is also starting from 1. Okay, no problem. You can leave. You will get the recording after that. You
Yes,
can
sir.
see recording. You are from DIATM, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
you leave. No problem. No issue.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Okay, so you
Yes, sir.
guys can
Sir,
do one
I have
thing.
also, sir.
Okay, you also leave. Okay,
Okay,
I
sir.
have a meeting from 1. You guys do some practice. I'm just coming within 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now we are going to the, hello everyone, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we are going to the multidimensional array. Let me share my screen. Java multidimensional array. So what is that multidimensional array? What is that multidimensional array? Java multidimensional array. A multidimensional array is an array of arrays. Each element of a multidimensional array is an array itself. For example, we have created that is the syntax, of declaring an multidimensional array or a 2D array. Int, what is that? 2 square brackets, because that is 2D array. That means 2 places will be there. One is for the column, first one is for the row, second one is for the column. A is the name of your array, equals to new int. There, here we are mentioning what? 3 and 4. Basically 3. First one is for what? First one is for the rows. Here we are not mentioning that 3 and 4 is not the values of your array. That 3 and 4 is the size of your array, right? 3, that means there will be 3 rows. 4, that means each and every rows there will be 4 columns. See the diagram of 2-dimensional array. We have created multi-dimensional array named A. It is a 2-dimensional array, that means 2D array that can hold a maximum of 12 elements. How it can hold maximum 12 elements? Because what we have mentioned, 3 rows, 1 2 3, 4 column, 1 2 3 4, 4 into 3, that is 12. That means if there are 12 blocks, that means we can store each and every block 12. There will be 12 blocks. That means each and every block we can store 12 elements. Yeah. Now see, now when you are working with the 2D array, try to understand the index number of 2D array. Row 1, row 2, row 3, that is the size, that is the length of your row 3. 1 2 3 4 column, the size is 4, but the index number is what? Row 1, the index number is 0. Row 2 index number is 1. Row 3 index number is 2. That row 1 having 4 column, row 2 having 4 column, row 3 having 4 column. Like the row, you are starting calculation like 0 1 2. Like the column also, we need to start your calculation from 0. 0 column, 1 column, 2 column, 3 column. That means row 1 having row 1, how you will mention, that is, in the 0 number row, column number is what? 0. That is that whole row under the 0 rows, that whole columns in under the 0. That means 0 row 0 column, 0 row 1 column, 0 row 2 column, 0 row 3 column. 1 row 0 column, 1 row 1 column, 1 row 2 column, 1 row 3 column, 2 row 0 column, 2 row 1 column, 2 row 2 column, 2 row 3 column. Is that clear? That row and the columns, everyone? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now remember that Java use zero-based indexing. That is, indexing of arrays in Java start with 0, not 1. Now, how we are declaring here, how we can initialize a 2-dimensional array in Java. This is the way. Here in the previous, in that place, what we are doing? Here we are mentioning, we are just the size of your array. Now here we are not mentioning the size of your array. That means, because why we are not mentioning? We are mentioning there will be 3 rows. Each and every row there will be 4 columns. That means what? There are total 12 blocks. Into the 12 blocks, each and every rows you need to give 4 elements or 4 columns. Each and every column there should be a value. Otherwise, because you are mentioning in the first row there are 4. That means here should be 4 value. Second row there are 4. That means here also 4 value. Here also 4 value have to be there. But when you are not mentioning any size, here we are not mentioning any size. And what is the advantage of that? Suppose here we are mentioning 4 columns. If you are not declaring 3 or 2 values, that means that places become spoiled. And when you are mentioning here the size of column is 4, you can store more extra value, that 5 number of value you can store into that array, right? Because array is fixed in size. But when you are not mentioning, you can store multiple values. Like here, int 2 square brackets, a is the name of your array. After that, what you need to do, that is, you need to start how we are declaring, and in this, remember, try to remember the single dimensional array, how we are declaring the elements within the curly braces, right? So we have started that curly braces here, ended that curly braces here. Within that curly braces, that is, there is what? That is a 2D array. That means one is for the row, first one is for the row, second one is for the what? Second one is for the column. So that means each and every row you need to store data. In the single dimensional array, what was there? Whatever the array you are printing, that is printing in a row or a printing in a column. But you are using 2-dimensional array, that means there is row and column also. So each and every portion you need to mention the you need to give value to every column and every row. Within that curly braces, you need to put that, or you need to give that elements, store that elements. Here we have mentioning again under that curly braces, again I have started that curly braces. That is a first row, that is the single row, that is the third row. Each and every row I have put it within the curly braces, and each and every element I have separated with comma. In the first row there is 1 2 3, in the second row 4 5 6 9, third row there is only one element, that is 7. That's how you can store data into an array also. Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
যে যদি ডেটা ভ্যালু না দিলেও সেই জায়গাটা এক্সিস্ট থাকলো, সেই জায়গাটাই নেবে, সেই প্রপারলি সেই জায়গাটাই নেবে। Like here, that example that we are not declaring the size of your array. So how we are there, how it is there? Row 1 having 3 elements, row 2 having 4 elements, row 3 having 1 element. Row 1, that means row 0 column 0 having 1, row 0 column 1 having 2, row 0 column 2 having 3, row 1 column 0 having 4, row 1 column 1 having 5, row 1 column 2 having 6, row 1 index number column index number 3 having 9, row 2 column 0 having 7. So that you can do also in terms of row number, you can pick up any value, or you in terms of row number and the column index number, you can mention the size. If I ask you what is the position of 6, what is the position of 6? Yeah, row 1.
Sir, A12.
No, A12. What is that 1 and what is that 2?
1 is the row and 2 is the column.
Yeah, that means
Index number 1 is row 2 and index number 2 is column 3.
index number row is 1. You are not, I'm sorry, please answer that again. In row index number is 1, column index number is 2. If
Yes, sir.
I'm asking that 6, that means row index number is 1, column index number is 2. Okay, now try to understand that example. What we have done, class multi-dimensional array. A class I have created, block I have created, a main method I have created. Within that main method, I have created what? I have created that array, 2-dimensional array. Int 2 square brackets, a is the name of your array, equals to, within the curly braces, 3 rows, each and every row in the row number 1 I have stored 3 elements, row number 2 stored 4 elements, row number 3 I have stored 1 element. That means each and every row having their different length, right? Now what we have done, system.out.println within the double quotes, length of row 1, length of row 2, length of row 3, right? That means what, within the double quotes I have put it, that means that is a string that will be printed as it is, right? With that message, we are using concatenation sign, and we want to know each and every row length. First, square brackets, when the time of declaration of that array, you are using two square brackets, right? First one is for the row, second one is for the column. Every time, first one is for the row, second one is for the column. So when you are using, now here I am doing concatenate a0 dot length, a1 dot length, a2 dot length. When you are using only one square brackets and you are mentioning the index number, that will pick up your row. Okay, that will, because that when you are using only one, that will pick up your row. That means a0, that means 0 number row, a1, a0 dot length, that means length of your 0 rows, length of your 1 rows, length of your 2 rows. That output will be whatever the size of each and every row, that will be printed. Length of row 1 is that, length of row 2 is that, length of row 3 is that. Is it clear? Okay, try to execute that example. Don't take too much time. Okay, that is a simple short example. হয়েছে? তোমার হয়েছে? তাড়াতাড়ি করো, একটু তাড়াতাড়ি ভাবছি। এই টপিকটা শেষ করতে হবে।
Okay, sir. Output is coming 341.
Yeah, that is the size of first row, second row, and third row. Why it is coming? In the first row there are 3 elements, in the second row there are 4 elements, in the third row there are only 1 element, that is 7. That's why it is coming 3, 4, 1. হয়েছে? তোমার হয়েছে? ঠিক আছে, একটা কাজ করো, স্ক্রিনশট নিয়ে নাও, ওটা স্ক্রিনশট নিয়ে নাও, পরে প্র্যাকটিস করবে। তুমি ওটা কন্টিনিউ, আমি কন্টিনিউ করি। Now print all elements of 2D array using loop. Now what we want to do is we want to print each and every element that is in array. We want to print it. So how we can print it? Array element, we can print it using what? Using for loop, right? So we want to print each and every element of a 2D array using for loop. That is the example. Class multi-dimensional array, public static void main string out main method. Within that block, int that array I have created. Don't be confused that -2, -4, -5, because that is just an element that will be printed as it is. That will not do any kind of mathematical calculation. That will not do any kind of mathematical calculation, because like -4 and -5, that will be plus my, like not like that. Okay, because that is just the elements. I have just used that minus symbol. That will be printed as it is. Like here, like if you see that output 1, -2, 3, -4, that will become. Now how we can do it using the follow. There is what row and column, that there is, this is a 2-dimensional array, that's why you need to take 2 for loop. That is called a nested for loop. Okay. Using that 2 for loop, we can print it, because first one is for what? First loop is for the row, second loop is for the column. Okay, so now how to do that? For int I equals to 0, because this is an array, that's why I have assigned that I equals to 0. I less than a dot length, that means what? Array length. That will pick up automatically, that will pick up that when you are using, that will loop under the loop a dot length, then plus I. Okay, plus I. Under that for block, we are doing another for loop, that is called loop under loop, that is called the nested for loop. When you are using loop under loop, that is a nested for loop, that means first loop will pick up your rows, second loop will pick up your column. Okay, now for int j equals to 0, I have assigned j equals to I is what? Row. I is the index number of row, that I have used it in the first for loop, that means that I am created for the row. So I is the index number, whatever the value of I, that will be the index number of your rows. Okay, dot length, array index number dot length, that means a0 dot length. That means what is, that is what? AI, when that I is 0, I0, that means the first row. First row dot length is what? 3. That means it is comparing j is less than 3 plus j. System order print a value of I, value of j. Now try to understand that how it is working. Int I equals to 0, 0 less than a dot length. Okay, 0 less than a dot length. When that condition is become true, it is coming to that for loop, second for loop. again, because why it is coming, that condition true, it is entering the block. Into that first for loop block, there is another for loop I have created. In that for loop, there is also j equals to 0. J less than a, I is what? 0 dot length. That is, the length is 3. 0 less than 3, is that condition true? Yes, that condition is became true. When that condition true, that will enter the for loop block. That for loop also have its block, so it will enter the for loop block. Here is what? System out of println a, I is what? J is what? 0. So what will be printed? A 0 number row, 0 number column. That will be printed 1. After that, it will go to that second nested for loop, that plus plus j, that will increase j plus 1 plus 0, that is 1. Now the value of j is became 1. 1 less than 3, that condition again became true. J is now 1. So it is coming system out of println. I is what? 0. Still I haven't gone to that I. Still I am working in the J. I am playing in the J part, right? So I still is 0. J have been increased by 1. That became is 1. 0, 1. Row number 0, 1 number column. That is minus 2 will be printed. যতক্ষণ up to the condition I less than I, the j is what? 3 less than 3, condition became false. Again it will go to that I for loop. First
Okay,
for
sir.
loop.
Okay,
Again
got it, sir.
Yeah, that
Yes,
will
sir.
increase the value by 1. Again it will check condition true. Again it will enter the j. J will run up to the size of that row, that length. Okay, condition false, again it will go to that I. That's how it will be, the each and every index number will come here, each and every elements will be printed here, like the output. Try to execute that program. That's everyone got now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please everyone, please try to execute that. Just a minute. করছো তুমি তো তাড়াতাড়ি হাত চালাবা, স্লোলি করলে হবে না। এই মূলরূপের বাইরে যদি একটা এমনি জাস্ট ছোটখাটো আউটডোর প্রিন্ট ডিজাইন করে দিন, পুরো অ্যারেটা যেরকম দেখতে সেরকম প্রিন্ট হয়ে যাবে, নিচে নিচে আসবে। মানে হ্যাঁ, ওটা প্রিন্ট প্রিন্ট করলে তাহলে আসবে না। প্রিন্ট এলএন করছো, প্রিন্ট ইউজ করো। হ্যাঁ, কোনটা? ওটা স্পেস দিয়ে দিচ্ছ, দেখো একটা, ওটা কি করছো, স্পেস দিচ্ছ, দ্যাট বিকেম ইন দ্য সিগনেচার অন নেক্সট লেয়ারে। হ্যাঁ, অ্যাকচুয়ালি অ্যারেটা ওরকমই দেখতে। তুমি যদি অ্যাজ ইট ইজ প্রিন্ট করতে চাও, তাহলে আর একটা অ্যারের মানে লুপের বাইরে একটা সিস্টেম আউট অফ প্রিন্টএলএন করে একটা স্পেস দিয়ে দিচ্ছ, মানে কি ফার্স্ট লাইনটা প্রিন্ট হয়ে যাওয়ার পরে নেক্সট লাইন আসছে, প্রিন্টএলএন স্পেস পড়ে যাচ্ছে, দিয়ে নেক্সট লাইন চলে যাচ্ছে, নেক্সট লাইনে গিয়ে আবার ওটা প্রিন্ট হচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ওটা ওটা তুমি করতে চাইলে করতে পারো। তাহলে কি হচ্ছে, লুপের বাইরে যখন বেরোচ্ছে প্রিন্ট করে করে একটা লাইনে প্রিন্ট করছে, করার পরে যখন নেক্সট লাইন আবার যদি লুপের বাইরের সিস্টেম এসওপিটা প্রিন্ট করছে, তখন কি স্পেস প্রিন্ট করছে নেক্সট লাইনে, করার পরে তারপরে আবার লুপগুলো আবার চালু করছে, আবার নেক্সট লাইনে পুরো এইভাবে।
Hello, sir. Can you hear?
Okay, sir, output is coming.
Yeah. কি হয়েছে, কিছু এরর পাচ্ছ? ওর দেখবে লাইন যে কোনো তো এরর কোন লাইনে রয়েছে দেখিয়ে দেয় তো। আরো এরর পাচ্ছ?
Hello, sir. Can you hear?
Yeah, hello.
Sir, I have joined today, sir.
Yeah, you are not properly audible. Speak a little bit louder.
Sir, I have joined today.
Yeah.
I don't know which platform is like I used to run
Sorry, you are not properly audible.
some network problem, I think.
One thing you can do now, you write it in the chat box. No problem.
Okay, okay, sir.
So now I'm going to the next topic. Okay. The previous example was what? Using the for loop. We are printing the Now that thing, second one is using the for each loop. আচ্ছা তুমি ওটা একটা স্ক্রিনশট নিয়ে বাড়িতে গিয়ে ভালোভাবে ঠান্ডা মাথায় প্র্যাকটিস করো, এরর গুলো নিজে থেকে সলভ করো, বুঝেছো? এরর গুলোকে নিজে থেকে সলভ করার চেষ্টা করো, আদারওয়াইজ কি হবে তুমি বুঝতে পারবে না। এরর সলভ করবে তবেই কনসেপ্ট গুলো ক্লিয়ার হবে। স্ক্রিনশট নিয়েছো? ঠিক আছে না। Using the for each loop, now we can also use the for each loop to access element with the multi-dimensional array. So let's see the example. Using the for each loop আমরা কিভাবে করব? Class multi-dimensional array is the class name, public static void main method. Array we have created. Now first for each loop access the individual array inside the 2D array. If for int inner array colon a. Okay. And first one is for the that for each loop access the individual array, each and that will accept that individual array int that square brackets inner array colon that and then a. And another for loop we need to use for the column in data. We are that is the data type, that is the integer type data, and we are storing that inner array. We are assigning that inner array that a array we are assigning it to the inner array that is an array, also an array, that inner array. And the second one is the for in data, and within that integer data type data name variable name we are storing that inner array elements. We are storing inner array elements, that means that a array I have stored it within the inner array. Now we are in that inner array we are assigning to the data variable. System out of println data, that variable name we are calling, so that output will be come. Is it so complicated, or do I need to explain it in? I have joined today, sir, so I don't know from where I will practice Java. Can you please tell me which ID I will use? Rishit, you do one thing, any ID that is not ID, that is the IDE, any ID you can use. You can use Eclipse or NetBeans or VS Code, any ID you can use. I will tell to use the Eclipse ID. Okay, first you try to take some help from the YouTube, okay, and try to install the JDK first. Then after installing the JDK in the proper way, then try to install the NetBeans. That NetBeans will be much better. Okay, if you have VS Code, you can run your code using the VS Code, but have you installed the JDK? First of all, for running the Java program, you need to install the JDK first. Yes, sir. Okay. If you have installed the JDK, now I don't know how to run Java code in the VS Code, because I have never run any Java code in VS Code. So I can help you. But you need to wait for the next session. So then I can watch some videos, or I can Google it, how to run Java program in VS Code. Then I can tell you. And if you are working in the Eclipse or NetBeans, that kind of ID, that I can say, because I have used only NetBeans and that Eclipse only. Okay. Okay, so that was the last example for today. You guys can take the screenshot, and that was the last topic. Using the for each loop we can print an array. So in the next session, that 2D array part was pending, right? You don't need to install that the Eclipse or NetBeans. If you are comfortable with the VS Code, if you know how to run Java programs in VS Code, there will no problem. Our intention to practice each and every day, whatever the concept, whatever the topics we are doing during the session, our intention is to practice, run the code, get the output. You are getting the output, that means you are doing the coding proper way. You are doing the coding proper way, that means you are understanding the concept proper way. Any VS code, whatever the VS code you can use, that doesn't matter. Any VS code you can use. Just because I am saying that you need to use that Eclipse or NetBeans, that is not mandatory. You need to use that Eclipse and NetBeans. Even you don't need to use any NetBeans or any ID. You can run your Java program in the CMD also, right? Just practice the code. Try to practice each and every code so you can understand, so you don't forget the whatever the concept we are doing. Okay, so that was the last topic. Any problem, anyone having any issue, anyone having any understanding issue that you are not getting or you are not understanding the anything during the session? Hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyone having any issue? No. Okay, no one having any issue, so I'm ending the session here for today. In the next session, in the last session where we have ended, we will start from there in the next session. Okay, I forget, তুমি তো ওইরকমই কিছু হবে, ঠিক আছে? Okay.